This is our brooder building. It's just a shed that we bought a year ago, 8 by 10 that we've converted into a brooder building.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing when you built these brooders. I remember seeing it posting a picture. Yeah, this is nice.
These brooders are,
They can't be that warm.
no,
The LEDs?
we use the red bulbs for heat, and then we can start them in the front. In the front part, where we can get them custom for a day or two, depending upon species, depending on how many are hatched at a time. And then all we have to do is lift this up, give them access, and then the indoor-outdoor carpet gets cleaned. Once a day it gets pulled out. We have a second set that's washed and dried and ready to go and put back in, so that we have 9 of these that we can utilize, and they stay in here 2 to 3 weeks, depending upon species and size of the bird, and then they go over to the next size, and we just heat with heat lamps, and those are converted shelving that we just put hardware cloth on and use the external heat lamps, and they stay in there for another 2 weeks plus, and by that time, you know, they're feathered, and they go out to the brooder building in the log cabin. These are intermediate brooders, and then the pellets in there are for pellet stoves. It's a wood, hardwood pellet, and we find that you get better absorption of the droppings, and you don't get the dust that you get with wood chips. And so every time we put another set of birds through here, we clean it out and change it, and we use the 60-watt bulbs for heat.
So do they dig through those pellets to get the food? Do they spill food on the floor? Or?
A little bit, but yeah, it actually works out pretty well.
But they can distinguish the pellets from the food.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the broken pellets.
Yeah, I've never had one that it impacted with, you know, by just eating pellets or anything. So.
Probably tastes bad.
Yeah,
They have an amazing sense of whatever feel or taste or whatever it is when it comes to differentiating what's edible and what's not. So what do you feed the chicks?
The chicks, we use a regular game bird starter. It's usually around 28% protein, and hard-boiled egg that we push through a tea strainer.
The yolk.
The yolk. And then we use a lot of greens, romaine lettuce that's cut up, or we'll sprout seed and use that cut up. We use a electrolyte in the water, and that's pretty much it. And we watch them, make sure that if they're growing too fast, then we cut the egg protein out. You know, if the feathers start curling on them, or any deformities show up. We kind of monitor each separate pen differently because they're different hatches, so we have the ability to watch them as they grow individually.
How many birds you usually house in each one of these units?
Probably the most is 6, 8 at a time.
Only for a week or two.
And then they get moved to another and then moved back out. So.
What size is this?
Let's see, they're 18 by 2 feet.
Very nice.
You had trouble finding lamps, incandescent lamps?
Yeah, I've been buying them wholesale through 1,000 bulbs.
1,000 bulbs. There's another place called A1A that's a little better price-wise, but I moved away from incandescent and went to, there's a source out of Canada that has like a halogen, similar to the lights that you use, but I found them in a E26.
Mm-hmm.
They're like $20, but they don't burn out. If water splashes on them, they don't.
That's
they
the
don't
nice
break.
thing about the halogen.
Okay.
It puts out a faint red glow, not really light per se, so you have to supplement it with something to have that day-night cycle. And I just use a 3-watt LED daylight temperature, and I put those on 12-12, and we let the birds thermoregulate with,
Yep.
but I like them because it's deep tissue heat. What I know, I've worked, in video for 33 years, and I did gaffer, so I did professional lighting. With incandescent, it starts degrading from the moment it's first turned on, so you get a certain degradation there, and it's not deep tissue heat; it's just ambient heat.
Right.
So I like the other because it's deep radiant heat.
I like that too. I
Right.
like the deep radiant.
And you can walk in and it'd be cold, and you can run your hand underneath it,
And it's,
and your hand, and you
warms
don't
up
feel heat. It
instantly,
warms
yeah.
your hand up. Your hand's
Right.
just hot, and
yeah.
it's like whoa.
And we use the string lights.
Right. I like
on
that.
on a timer,
Yeah.
so that they get some rest and they're
Right.
not eating. One of the important things is that chicks will overeat.
Right.
And that's where you start getting in leg problems and feather
And in
problems,
the waterfall, you get the twisted wings and
twisted
stuff like
wings,
that.
that sort of thing.
But yeah, so on those infrared, that's one of the things I struggle with because I haven't got a big solution to natural rhythms as far as
Right.
eating. But I like that heat aspect
Right.
for the waterfall. But these halogen lights I use, I like them. In fact, I noticed I put them up on rope issues,
Right.
so I can just pull them up out of the way. And I burned up only like 4 bulbs the entire year. That's
Wow.
out of I got 18 Brooders running,
Yeah.
almost. I mean, right up until September.
Right.
4 bulbs.
Yeah.
Can you send me a?
I'll be glad to, because the thing I have noticed is that you have, when they're available, you got it, because everybody apparently jumps on them
Sure.
at the same time. But that's easier. The LEDs that you're using, the rope, will be easier to source than the 3-watt LEDs. You can find what's the equivalent of 60-watt.
Yeah,
But that is, they'll burn your retinas out with the light that bright. But
yeah.
I was going to ask you, like with
So what
Cocos.
you could do is you could take stove paint and paint them,
Oh yeah, I could do that.
and
Yeah,
you have a nice dark, and then you could run these LED.
yeah.
That's actually
I tried
gonna be so
using
nice
the
to do.
reptile,
Ceramic,
ceramic.
they burn out fast.
yeah, and
And they're expensive too,
Right.
for what they are.
And the heat.
But that would be the thing is if you took those halogen lights,
right.
paint them with black stove paint, then you run some of this stuff for your natural light.
Right. That's
and
why I
that
use
timer.
LED for natural light, and others for just the heat.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask, like your Cokeless, do the chicks feed readily for you?
well, this is the first year that I've had them.
Okay.
Kevin brought them up to me, and
He and I were having a discussion last year about it. That's the reason I was wanting to ask and pick your brain about it. Because one of the things I told him I thought he might try is like with Spurfowl, I started putting a mirror in the brooder and put the food right in front of it so they see that chick, and it's competition all of a
Yeah.
sudden, and they rush into it.
right,
The other thing I had to do with them is I took laminate, like countertop laminate, and cut, so I took the corners out because
Yes.
they would corner pile real bad.
which Spurfowl?
This was like the Palawan and the Tremaine.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they seem like they won't.
So
They have this whole room, and they will find a corner to go into.
So one of the things we found was some of the waterfowl that's harder to keep is smaller brooders.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
tend to, the stuff that doesn't want to start eating, smaller brooders.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
we started
Right.
in the
That's what I
small.
was thinking when I saw that, is you get them in a smaller area and
Yeah.
they probably start eating a lot quicker.
I built mine 8 feet, and they're 2 feet deep, but I did the same thing. But I have mine where I can take the dividers out of all of them and have like 8 foot.
Because I think that's what happens, is we think that they need
Space.
big space, and they're off wandering in corners and exercising.
And they don't even know where the
Instead
food
of
is.
eating, once they get eating,
Yeah.
like after 2 weeks or so, they're eating really good,
Yeah.
they're starting to grow and stuff,
Okay.
then put them in a bigger brooder, but
That's just I always like hearing other opinions because
Yeah.
that way okay, well, am I way out in left field waiting on a ball to come this way?
And the other thing we had to do in this room is we insulated it, but we had to put in the exhaust fan set on a temperature, because it was early spring and it was one of the first days we hit in the 80s. And I was inside working and it was cool in the house and I didn't pay a whole lot of attention. I came out here to check on the chicks and everybody was laid out flat. I had to run them into the basement and cool them
Oh
off.
wow,
And so we put in the exhaust fan.
that helped.
It helped, but it was so powerful, it was had no air to suck in, so we ended up putting in the vents,
Right.
and then I put a small fan to actually bring in the
Positive pressure for
fresh
it. Okay.
fresh air, and that worked out